Welcome to Always Honest, where two friends unpack the beauty and chaos of faith, family, and everything in between, one honest conversation at a time.
Hey friends, thanks for being here. We're glad you're back. Whether you are folding laundry, driving your kids to school, or hiding in the bathroom for 5 minutes apiece, we see you. We're Leah and Madeline, and this is a space where we talk real life, faith, and the things in between that get messy.
Let's talk about the war we fight silently every day with our own reflection. You try an outfit on and hate them all. You smile in a selfie and then zoom in and hate the way you look. You pinch your stomach and think, how have I let myself go? Or maybe you work out and eat clean, but you feel like it's still not enough. Or you know your body is strong and you've birthed babies and you've been through trauma, but deep down you feel like you're not allowed to love it. If that's you and that hits home, you're in the right place. Today we're going to go there, and we are not going to leave you in the shame spiral. We're going to walk out of it together.
But first, mood check. Leah, where are you at on a scale of rainbows and sunshine to the clouds rolling in today?
Well, I'll be honest, because this is always
Please.
honest. I'm not excited to talk about this today.
Ooh,
I mean, some of
okay.
the topics we get here, and I'm like, oh, I'm excited to
Sure.
dive in, but this one, I'm not.
Not so much.
Not so much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So what about you, Madeline? Where are you on a scale of rainbows and sunshine to clouds rolling in?
Well, I think I said it last week, like partly cloudy, partly sunny. I've got things that are frustrating, things that are hindering, but things that are so wonderful. So there's both. Again, we always say like life is messy, like it's never perfect. And I feel like once you think things are just gonna be figured out, or like you think you know what a season's gonna look like, God's like, sorry, I had something else in mind. So, anyways, still just healing physically from my muscle strain, and that's frustrating. I've never had something like this. But again, things could be worse, and we're gonna make it through. So
Yeah, I know you've been dealing with that for a while, and I know that's hard.
it's funny because your husband's a nurse and mine's a firefighter. So I'm always like, obviously asking Scott, like, do I need to go to the emergency room? What, blah, blah. And then I'm like, I'm asking Jeff too. Or like, I text you and I'm like, can you please ask Jeff? Because I'm like, you get a firefighter and a nurse. Okay, okay.
We're covered.
That's like two good opinions, I feel like. So yeah, no, it's just, oh my gosh. If anything, I am learning patience and just a thankfulness, because the enemy so wants us to focus on what we don't have or we can't do rather than all the things we have and we can do. So it's good for me to be like stretched in these ways of having to like have a good mindset and a good attitude. But I noticed, I just noticed how much easier it is to like praise God when things are going well. Like it just feels more natural. And then when things are hard, it's kind of like, you focus on that, and I don't know, I mean, at least for me. So it's just been a good self-check for sure. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Chronic pain, I don't know how people deal with it, and it's like you have a thorn in your side right now. Like, like literally.
right,
Poking
literally
into your side.
Yeah, I told Leah, don't make me laugh, because laughing is what hurts at the
We're gonna
worst.
be just depressed today.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. What even is body image?
I would assume it's like how you feel about your own body. That's what I think of when I think of body images, how you view and love your own body.
And so how does it start? What are some of the influences in early life that create our body image?
Well, I was doing some research last night, I was telling you, and then I was just getting it was so heavy, like all the stats of like, eating disorders and stuff, but I'll share some in a little bit. But it said that as young as between 6 and 10 is when girls start like worrying about their body and like looking in the mirror. And I'm like, okay, I have a 6 and 9-year-old. You have a 6 and 9-year-old, right? Like, that's scary. That's really scary. And so back to your question, I think that it starts very young, and I think it starts so much younger than a lot of people realize. So then maybe they aren't as cautious of like how, you're talking in front of your daughter about your own body, or maybe what's on the TV, because it's like, oh, they're so young, like whatever, but they're taking it all in. And I personally didn't think about it much as a child. I've dealt with it way more as an adult.
Well, and depending on what you're exposed to. So speaking of influences, I think one of the main influences could be whatever adults are around you, and if they're constantly pinching themselves, and
sure.
you're observing them, looking in the mirror, fixing them their hair and saying negative things about themselves, then you're going to pick up on that. And so that's
Mhm.
one thing that makes me nervous about today, is just even bringing attention to it. Like, I don't
Mm.
want to trigger something in somebody where who doesn't struggle with it. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
sure. Yeah.
I just feel like it's such a sensitive
Yeah.
topic that, like, yeah, for my girls, I don't want it to even be on their radar if I can
Mhm.
help it,
Mhm.
like, not commenting on
Yeah.
how they look unless it's just about, like, the appropriateness of being, like, having good hygiene, like, let's
Sure, sure.
brush your hair.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I just try to avoid, like,
Yeah.
talking about it,
Yeah.
because I don't want it to be, I don't want them to have that awareness yet.
Yeah.
They do, but anyway, I
Yeah.
mean, that was always my goal
Mhm.
with them,
Yeah.
and with the boys too.
Yeah. Looking back, when do you feel like you first started noticing your body in a way where maybe you were like aware, I don't know, just like aware of like your shape or size or anything like that?
Yeah, that's why this is hard for me, because I've always been very self-conscious. I've
Mm,
always
mhm,
had very negative thoughts, and
mhm,
I don't feel like I necessarily had specific influences.
mm,
It's just the way I talked to
mm,
myself, and kind of like when you hear your voice for the first time when you're young and you're like, "Oh, that sounds weird."
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
I've just always had difficulty being comfortable in my skin and being like, "Oh, that's me." I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I know that it's not healthy, and so it's
Mm,
always been a
mm,
struggle for me. Like, specifically at age, I think I was like 10,
mm,
um, looking in the mirror, and I had seen other people look in the mirror and talk about their thighs.
mhm,
And I remember looking in the mirror at age 9 or 10 and thinking, when am I going to look in the mirror and not like my thighs? Like, I felt like it was something that was just going to happen.
mm,
And then, sure enough, I remember at age 12-ish
mhm,
looking in the mirror and thinking, "Oh, here it is. I do not like my thighs. There they
mhm.
are." That's
Wow.
I knew this was coming, and I don't know. It was like I heard it, and then
Yeah.
I anticipated it, and then I, like, believed it, and I didn't
Yeah.
like my thighs.
Mhm.
And then I look in high school, I remember looking back at the picture of myself at age 12 and being like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
I was a 12-year-old. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there was nothing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just always been,
Mhm.
in my head.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I want to briefly bring up culture. I don't want to go crazy because I will. Like this is a topic. If you see my microphone shaking, it's because I actually am nervous. Like in a good, like not in a bad way, but just like
You're passionate
I'm
about it.
passionate.
Yeah.
Yes, and so unfortunately, culture, you know, it's so against us in this way because when you watch a movie, the main lead has one body type for the most part, right? Like there's it's we're surrounded by what society, what filmmakers, I'm not even sure what they think is beautiful and sexy. I don't shop at certain stores because of their advertising and how there's one body type. And it's just, it, we don't even realize it, but it is programming our brain of like, oh, well, like none of those models look like me. So there must be something wrong with my body type. There must be something wrong with my height or my breast size, like all those things. And so it's like, it's in order for us to be able to like see all that going on around us and remain confident in who we are and how we look, I mean, I feel like we have to be so rooted in the truth of what God says about us and, things like that. Because really like being aware of where we're getting I don't know.
Our perception of ourselves,
Yeah.
where we're getting our definition of what is good or what
Yeah.
is acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just going to ask you, because you asked me, like, when is the first time that you remember
Mm.
thinking about your own body image? Good or bad?
Yeah. I think that it was probably like my first pregnancy, honestly.
Wow.
I didn't really have it. I didn't really I was I is from what I can remember, I was a fairly confident person. Even though I got made fun of in school for having small chest, like comments of like, oh, boys won't like you. Like I even had that,
Oh my
and I was
goodness.
still like, "Mm, I don't know. It didn't really. I mean, it did bother me. But it came back later in life. Like those
Mm.
lies at the time, it didn't really. But yeah, getting pregnant, I gained a good amount of weight in my first pregnancy. Us 5'2" girls, I feel like it's just you just gain more. I feel like there's not a whole lot of place for the weight to go. But so that was weird watching my body change. The stretch marks, the just things got bigger, and I'm like, okay. So that was interesting, and it was hard. My body has changed though, which has been hard to see. It was so constant, till I was 21. So then, like after having my second, I had lost a bunch of weight, not intentionally, and so then I gained it all back, and then it was like, okay, well then you look back at pictures and it's like, oh well, that looks different than I am now. Like the changes, I guess, is maybe what has triggered some like, well, what if I liked that better and then I can't just go back to that, or like what accepting where I'm at today, accepting this, yeah,
For the first time, it was like out of your control, like what your body was
yeah,
doing.
yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. But having two daughters, I I just like want to fight the battle so hard and not let the
Mm.
enemy use it against me, because I know if I want my girls to have a healthy, relationship with food and their body, that I need to be striving for that myself and really be intentional of how I talk when I look in the mirror, but just even how I think, like really taking those thoughts captive and
Yeah, and going back to talking about culture, I think there's no avoiding that. Whatever culture we're in, whatever time period, there's going to be a certain standard of beauty.
mhm,
In some cultures it's pale, in some cultures it's tan, in some
yeah,
time periods it was pale, in some time periods it was no lips, in some time periods it's big lips. So there's always going to be something, because we naturally, as relational people, we look around at those around us and we want to fit in, we want to look like those around us. I mean, I don't remember what tribe it is in Africa, but they, put the rings around their neck, and the longer your neck is, the more beautiful you are. So the surroundings, the things that surround you are going
yeah,
to impact what you believe
mhm,
is beautiful, or
yeah,
acceptable.
mhm,
Um, I think in our current culture, so I think the antidote, because you were kind of touching on it, the antidote is like variety and realizing
mhm,
that there is a different body type.
mhm,
There's multiple different body types.
mhm, mhm,
And yeah, if we're only exposed to one, then we're going to try to fit that
mhm,
mold. And
mhm,
so I actually really appreciate, in the last 15 years or so, Kim Kardashian and the way that her body image changed what was
mm,
considered beautiful. I think, of course, we then swing too far on, now
mm.
girls are self-conscious that they're not curvy enough.
Right, right.
So it's like variety.
Yeah.
Like we need
Yes.
that variety of
Yeah.
like tall, great, short,
Mhm.
great,
Yeah.
big, small. Like
Yeah.
we need that, dark, light, everything. We
Yeah.
need that variety.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So when I was, developing my image of myself, in your adolescence and preteens and all of that, the image that was portrayed as beautiful was the waif thin Kate Moss
Mm.
and the super tall supermodels with
Yeah.
legs, long legs.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, not not what was going on here. So that definitely, for me
Mhm.
personally, that really played
Mhm.
into hating my body and Barbies, like having Barbies. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to look like that when I'm a
Yeah.
teenager. I just thought that you grew up and looked
Right.
like Barbie. I don't
Right.
know why. I just thought that. I played with
Yeah.
Barbie. I thought I would look like Barbie. So that was hard for me. And
Mhm.
so I'm glad that we're kind of coming out of that.
Mhm.
And so you're younger than me. Was that much of your growing up, like the thin, wafy supermodel? Like, did that impact you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I think it's fairly recently, like you said, that where people can appreciate curves and stuff. What I still don't like though is that's like society telling us, well, curves are okay now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like they were always fine. Like,
Mhm.
but again, it's like who's deciding
Mhm.
when things are like it has to come from an acceptance of like from within and like
Yeah.
with God, but that's so much it's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's hardening. You have to be intentional.
So those are some of the influences that impact how we view ourselves. Do you think it's possible to shut those out completely and not be influenced by the current culture, what you see portrayed? Do you think people are able to do that?
Well, yes, but I don't think that temptation's not going to come knocking to like have the insecurities and the questions about our body. So, if we were to be really careful what we watch on TV, if we were to really clean our social media feed, stop following people that are obsessed with their bodies rather than just taking care of them, um, and if we were to be rooted in scripture and meditating on scripture about our bodies and beauty, I mean, yeah, we could really do, I think, well for ourselves. The problem is we're probably taking in more of culture than the word of God some days, or like it's what's louder, but we do live in a broken world. We don't live in the Garden of Eden where before sin and Adam and Eve were just confident and naked and I mean it's just you just could imagine that life. But I don't think we should give up. I don't think that we should like just settle for like a constant insecurity or a constant like battle in that area. I don't know what you think.
So it sounds like you're saying if we can avoid some of that, that's going to make it easier.
100%.
Because
Yeah. What you
that's been
fill
my
your
experience.
okay.
I remember specifically, I was married at this point and still struggling with body image, and
Mhm.
I think I was married. Anyway, I just remember standing in the grocery line and thinking, um, the magazines are there,
Oh
and you
yeah.
just can't help but see them. But I remember thinking, I just need to stop. We didn't have like a ton of online
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
So it was, for me, it was magazines. And so I was
Mhm.
like, I just need to stop looking at magazines. And
Mhm.
so I made a conscious decision to stop looking at them because that was
Mhm.
where I got most of my input.
Mhm.
And I did, and it did make a huge
Mhm.
difference. I was able to quiet a lot of the noise in my head, a lot of the negative
Mhm.
thinking.
Yeah, there's women that I would enjoy following on social media, like because of their content or because of their, um, well, some of their content. And there's certain things I like, but there's also the content of, you know, they ate a certain breakfast that wouldn't fill me up, and then they go run 4 miles, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm if I see it causing me to like compare or something, I'm like out. Like it's out. Like it's not worth my mental health. You know what I mean? Um and especially because, food is a whole different subject that I could get on. Like I just cannot stand the food expect like the oh, like which we might even disagree on some of this because I feel like I've I don't know. But I just feel like I don't know. Like, would someone post my breakfast online? I don't know. I'm just gonna say it. I eat a full English muffin, a whole two halves with peanut butter and honey. I'm like, is like, who are we not eating bread?
You
Like,
feel food shamed by what you see online.
100%. Like, what's wrong with my English muffin? And then what if I want a sandwich for lunch? More bread. Oh my gosh, it's okay. It's okay if you're listening to your body. You're eating when you're hungry. You're stopping when you're full.
Yeah.
Like this whole persona of like, well, I have to have a rice cake instead of my actual bread.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think it's unhealthy, and I think that it causes eating disorders.
Yeah.
There. Okay, I'll stop.
For
uh,
some people, yes. And then for some people, they need to see examples of it's just everyone's so different.
yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
I know what you're saying, but everyone is so different in their health needs and everything. Because I used to be like you, where I would eat whatever the heck I wanted.
Mhm.
Like I remember playing soccer and I would eat a full Mexican meal,
Mhm.
like a full plate, and like just be able to go play and
Mhm.
not feel icky.
Mhm.
But it was when it started to impact my health, then
Mhm.
I started to look into like what I was eating because
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
like sore joints and everything.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so turned out it was Hashimoto's, and then gluten, cutting that out helped. So
Yeah, yeah.
before then, I hated it because I never wanted to be I looked at it as high maintenance. Like if
Mhm.
you had to, like I had a friend who would eat really healthy,
Mhm.
and she would order the black bean. I remember her ordering the black bean soup, and almost despite her, I remember getting like the full on like chimichanga,
Yeah, yeah.
because I just felt like I don't want to be high. To me, I thought high maintenance. I
Mm.
want to just eat whatever I want whenever I want,
Mhm.
and that worked for a while.
Yeah,
And I think that's I don't know. It's all about, yeah, your perspective and
yeah,
balance and motives, and so many things play into that
yeah. Well, and it's more just like your mentality behind what you're eating.
sure.
If you're not eating bread because you don't think that you deserve it or because you
Yeah.
are afraid it's going to make you fat,
Yeah.
that's versus like this food makes me feel better and gives me more energy and um it's just it's not yeah like I, again, and this is just more food stuff, but I'm like I don't feel the need to like burn off a cookie. Like
Uh-huh.
there's nothing wrong with me eating a cookie and then
Uh-huh.
like not burning that off. Like enjoying food. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just like something I'm very and I have a dear person in my life that dealt severely with an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So watching her navigate a healthier way to look at food in her body, it really taught me a lot, honestly, of
Yeah.
like just like how we can get wrapped up in that mentally, the shame of like
Mhm.
a certain food. And it's just something we need to be really careful about.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely our relationship with food. I heard that if you think that something is going to be unhealthy for you, it's actually going to have more of that impact on your body. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if you think, oh, this is fine,
Mm-hmm.
then it has less of an impact. I didn't like research this before we sat
Mm-hmm.
down, but I just remember that from somewhere. And kind of the idea is that, yeah, our mentality plays a lot into it. And if we're
Mm-hmm.
feeling guilty about a cookie, then it's
Mm-hmm.
going to have a more negative impact.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're just like having a balanced
Mm-hmm.
perspective
Yeah.
of like, this cookie is not the enemy, like
Yeah.
then your body will process it
Yeah.
uh, better somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, store
Sure.
things where they need to go. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my scientific explanation. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's similar as far as your the strength of your mind. Arnold Schwarzenegger would talk about how he focused on his muscles when he was
Yeah.
working out.
Mind to muscle.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so like you're in the same way. I think it's, to me it seems kind of similar. Like if you're thinking the food is going to be bad and you're just feeling guilty, then it's going to like
Yeah.
process differently somehow. I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, so having a healthy relationship with food and realizing this is going to nourish my
Mm-hmm.
body and give it the energy it needs. And also, if it's something that I enjoy, it's okay to do that at times
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
but then not indulging
Yeah.
too much, because, the Bible talks about not being a glutton,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're
For
doing it
sure.
to stuff down feelings or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the unhealthy things could
Yeah.
be. Yeah, God makes things gray for a reason, so that
Mm.
we're always examining our heart and our motives,
Mm.
and not just going, this is good, this is bad,
Yeah.
do it this way.
Yeah.
Like we have to check in with ourselves.
I love that. Mm-hmm.
That's it for part 1 of our conversation on body image. We've only scratched the surface, so be sure to join us for part 2. If this episode resonated with you, take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who might need to hear it too. Until then, stay honest.